When we talk of rainwater harvesting, we basically talk of rainwater harvesting tanks. We are talking of small rural dams. We are talking of different techniques that can be applied in capturing water from the rain, so that people can use it when there is no water, or even to supplement the water they get from municipalities.
That are the systems of managing my rainwater. You can see on the wall. And then I do summarize them. And then when it rains, I don't run into the house, I get out. That's why this has been created, which is water for food movement. It's only when you manage what God gives for free. I'm talking about the poorest of the poor, who have got no way, no shoulder to cry on. I'm saying, that's one route, my dear, because when it rains, God does not say that these clouds must go and fall not there, because then leave you here as an island here. It is how you interact and work in harmony with those resources. You see? So if you can look at this. This women here, this one, I mobilized, that's the Kukuni. That is when I was already here. If you can go and visit this woman and you look at the impact of mobilization in that village, where I even had to have the chief's wives and local councillors here for 4 days for transforming to create an enabling environment in that area so that they give way. And let the river roll, because the power is in the hands of the masses. The power is in the hands of the nobodies, and they will transform. What you have failed with thousands and millions and billions of rands to achieve, the nobodies are achieving that with no cent. Do you see that furrow here? That furrow, all these trees are 1.5 down, all these holes here, all of them right up there, all these beds here. And then you have got the sluice gate, where it opens up and releases that water, and then it gets on here, and then it collects here. And now here, another deep trench, 1.5 down, around the trees, to absorb whatever water comes running with this one. And then now, when the water flows here, it gets full here, it comes here. And then it gets here. It gets into this one. And now still able to recharge, because it can, before it can overflow, it goes onto this level. And because this is soft, it gets absorbed. This is hard, this is soft. It gets absorbed into here. So the what you call this little bottles you see here, it's irrigation bottles. And just put water here once a month. They've got holes in them. So, and then the potatoes that are coming here, it's this size. What I call cut back roots, furrow, so that the roots of these trees will not disturb this. And then I've got this furrow here that also collects the water. And then the water doesn't actually get dry and taken by the sun, because all the leaves are mulching this little furrow here. And then, so there's a lot of seepage. This is very, 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 very soft. Very, very soft. Look at the pumpkins. No water, no next. It's all compost. This yesterday was a small little thing. No water. Look at that. And the voiceless have got the power because they can stand up and scratch the earth for their livelihoods. And that, to me, in itself, is power. It's power because they have got to understand and walk in harmony with what nature gives for free for them, because other things are too far. They cannot access them. There's fairy stories. You can be preaching and saying and shouting on TV and whatnot and say, look here, I've been a millionaire, and then this is what they... It says nothing to that simple woman. It says nothing to Tsepo who sits here. It says nothing. Tsepo has got to say, what do I eat today? When it rains, how can I get out and maximize that water that God gives for free? Because the other water is so far from me. I don't know how it gets brought to me. I don't know how, and then all those things. But this, I can.
Also important is that we would like to put a case to government, to government officials and politicians in particular, so that they can understand the importance played by rainwater harvesting, in particular in a water-stressed country like South Africa. In the past, we have struggled to engage with the government on rainwater harvesting issues, but it seems that there is a change of thinking in this area, because government have initiated some rainwater harvesting schemes. One in Putatichaba in Orange Free State, and the other in KZN in Pochini. And both pilot projects are initiated by government. And we support that, and we hope that we'll also document their work, so that other government officials and other people can see that the government is doing something on rainwater harvesting. But we're also saying it's not enough, because there's more rain that we can harvest, and what we're harvesting now is a fraction of what needs to be harvested in South Africa.
We engage with Department of Water Affairs because we have a problem of water. We don't have any stream that's flowing through the winter here in Pochini. So we approach the department can fund us with the water harvesting tanks.
The rainwater harvesting program came into existence with realizing the fact that people are food insecure in the deep rural areas, and realizing that most of them are willing to garden, but they have no access to water for agricultural purposes. Then that's when we decided that let's come with this pilot project, wherein we provide people households with tanks, and to ensure that during the rainy days they gather that water and be able to use it during dry spells, so that they continue to plant their crops even on dry seasons. So that's how it came into existence. But we also couldn't ignore the fact that people don't have drinking water, which is why we also thought that let's have roof tanks wherein people would be able to drink from them.
So since I started to do farming, we have no hunger in this house. Yes.
The water supply for rural areas is problematic, because it's difficult, especially these areas where the houses are far apart, to do the piped water option. And so we think that the rainwater harvesting can play a major role in supplying water to a household.
In an area like this, the water provision that has happened is just for household use. So there are some boreholes and people can use that water for drinking, but for productive use there's no water. There's some water in summer because the springs and the streams are not perennial. So we came in about 2006 working with the Water Research Commission on homestead water management. It just became clear the only water you're going to have to manage is rainwater. The Department of Water Affairs at the time was trying to come up with a strategy for water harvesting. They were looking for a pilot program or a flagship program for poverty alleviation. So through the work of Matsepo Kombane and then Mana Delonga, we set up this strategy for how we could do it. And it's mostly putting in infrastructure to help with the storage of water. Through the dry season, we did a lot of calculations and work to work out what size garden, how much water you would need, how much you need to store. So the storage is the one element. The other element is working with rainwater in the garden itself. So we do run-on, which is a form of runoff, really. It's managing the runoff. So it's diverting water into your garden and then through a series of deep trenched beds and almost flat ditches where the water sits and seeps into the sides of the beds. You can get almost double the amount of water that you have just from rain by doing that. So in summer, you actually don't need to water much. So then the stored water is what you keep for the winter season.
This is my garden, and here, this is a trench bed. I dig this one, and 60 centimeter deep. Then I begin with laying the rusting metal, such as cane and iron sheet that can rust. Then I put a crawl manure, I put a grass, I put the soil, and I make layers until it comes as you see it. We started this one, we learned it from Limpopo at Mama Matsepo. Is the woman that taught us about this. It's the best way of fertile our soil. We make a cross visit. We visit Mama Matsepo who taught us how to prepare our soil. Yeah, so we started this system. It's the best way of growing our. This one can last you 3 years. You're not using any fertilizer or manure. We are trying to harvest the water from the rain. So when it's raining, the water can come through, then can stay there for a long time. Yeah.
Yes, at the moment, for this pilot phase, the budget is 40,000 rand per household for 4 tanks, but that includes a liaison, it includes facilitation, and it includes training in intensive food gardening, which Department of Water Affairs deem as essential for the program. Otherwise, people just get a tank and they're not using it. But the cost for doing this piped water supply is, for example, in this area, the capital cost will be considerable. And that is something that one should compare it against.
She said that her name is Gabelo Mtagane, and she's very happy about the tanks. Thank you very much. He said he's blessed by God with these tanks. Now he can afford to water his garden. Thank you very much.
The gardening, we have a process we include nutrition and diets in it. So we look at malnutrition issues, we look at dietary diversity, and then we work with people on a concerted effort to increase their dietary diversity through what they grow. So to add different kinds of crops, and specifically looking at the continuity so that there's food all the time. And we focus on the nutrition for under 5s. It tends to be very limited. And so we introduce different kinds of greens, also looking at introducing legumes, beans and peanuts and some of the traditional crops. They're starting to disappear. And orange fleece sweet potatoes for the vitamin A. So it's vitamin A, vitamin C and protein that you need to focus on for that. And then a lot of fruit. We try and introduce fruit trees. In terms of lessons that we're learning, is we're finding that if and when people take their gardening seriously, it's definitely a way for them to know that they can now have a livelihood here. And then they find that once they're growing, in fact, it provides enough food for them and their extended families and all the children they need to feed. And they can sell. So people are, I'd say there's about 15% of the gardeners here that have got quite serious about it and they're selling. And that now has become their main source of income. So that's great. It's not everybody in the community that's going to do it. Not everybody's interested enough in gardening. So you've got to be quite careful about choosing people. And then helping them to keep their motivation going until it's settled in as their new way of life.
The rainwater harvesting could play a very, very important role in terms of people accessing to water during these dry seasons, people being able to continue their local livelihoods activities such as urban agriculture, such as rural subsistence farming, such as animal farming, because in some of the areas we have seen that people have to buy water in order to support their livestock. People have to buy water in order to drink. And if people then were to embark massively on rainwater harvesting, that would help them free the money that they would use to buy water, given the fact that the government is not about to really deliver water to everyone. And the amount of water that is available from government is not sufficient for these communities to be able to sustain their water uses. Thus, rainwater harvesting could be a very positive step if government was to drastically and radically introduce rainwater harvesting. For instance, in the RDP houses, like on each house, there's no reason that each house should not have a rainwater tank.
Here we are at Tabanatwana village. The whole area is Makening. So all in all, we've got 14 beneficiaries here. Some have the 4 tanks, 3 underground and 1 roof tank.
We also do have some of the households where 2 roof tanks have been installed and 2 berry tanks. We have divided this whole area in 3 villages because it's quite far apart. As you drive through it, you see this is quite kilometers apart. So we took through villages, and then in each we have like 13 and 14 households that has been receiving tanks.
I'm working here as an institutional and social development facilitator. So I'm working closely with 3 field assistants from the 3 separate areas in Kwakwa where we're working, and working with 40 beneficiaries total. So we've divided them among the 3 areas. So my role has been trainings primarily. We've done 7, today's training 8. So we've done 8 trainings, and also garden follow-ups and monitoring, just to see how people are doing things at home, so we can build on what people are already doing is the idea with the trainings.
This project, I have realized that it's very much assist in our community. It helps to fight poverty a lot because people are not working, but due to this project they used to assist their families.
It's actually been really nice working here because people are already gardening and they're serious about it and they're living off of what they're growing in their gardens. But still there's a habit of not growing in the winter. Here it's a little different because a lot of people do have taps close by, but even those get shut off for days or weeks at a time regularly. So each month most families go without water for 3 to 7 days at a time. So people are still not really in the habit of planting in the winter. So the hope with these tanks is that there will be a supply of water to use to continue gardening year-round. So even if the taps get cut off, or like they're talking about starting to pay for water meters and things, people will have their own source of water at home so they can continue gardening and not have a reason to stop during the winter months.
Let us come to this side and look at the experiment. Exactly. This is number 1 for your liquid manure. Exactly. Thank you.
Liquid manure, money, and let's see. Well, I read some manure and I honor.
What I want to talk about today is something we call deep watering. And it means that you give your plants a lot of water, but less often. Okay, this is your garden.
You got in your house.
It's a small garden.
It's small garden is how.
1 meter by 1 meter. How much water does this garden need every week? 10? Anyone? 20. 20 is right. A week. 20 liters. Usually we say for 1 meter by 1 meter, 20 liter bucket per week. reason I'm telling you is because, like I said, you are the managers of your gardens and your tanks. So today you can go home, you can count your garden. My garden is 5 meters by 2 meters. And you can do the math. And remember, you have 5, 10, 15, 20,000 liters of water. So now you can do the math and do the planning for, okay, I have 20,000 liters of water. If that's what I want to use to water my garden for the winter, how big can my garden be, etc.
She was not able to make seed beds. She was just planting in a row, and then when it rains, the wind just the plants away. So now that she's proud, she knows how to make the seed beds. Now she's having the 4 tanks, the 3 buried, and then the 1 roof tank. Sometimes she used to say, "Is this my house? Is this my place?" Now she is proud. She's thinking the fact that the department have given them these tanks. So now for them as beneficiaries, they must work as hard as they could.
He's the chief. He says he's proud of the project that he came to encourage the people to plow, and he have learned a lot from the project. So
they are all talking the same language. They now know how to eat. They are talking about the balanced diet. They were only just planting, not knowing the importance of all